Welcome to the Cigar Rebel community, where indulgence meets authenticity. This is more than a podcast. It's a gathering place for those who savor life's luxuries with unapologetic passion. Here we celebrate the fine art of living through rich flavors, bold spirits, exquisite cigars, and unforgettable experiences.
Welcome, Cigar Rebels, to the podcast. I'm Mel, and whether you guys are driving home from work, lighting up on your back porch, sneaking away for a little peace and quiet with a cigar, or hanging out just at your favorite lounge, we're glad you're here today.
Yeah, and I'm Kevin, and tonight we're talking about something bigger than tobacco and cigars. We're talking about the chair that is next to you, the person sitting in it, and the place somehow that's become a part of your life.
Yes, tonight's episode is called The Gathering Place. So this is going to be cigars, friendships, and the third place.
Yeah, and so I'm really excited about tonight, Mel. I want every rebel listening to think about their favorite cigar shop, their favorite lounge, not the nicest you've ever visited, not the one with the largest humidor, but your place, the one where people know your name.
Right. The place that you are walking in and someone notices that if you haven't been there for a while, or maybe if you were just there earlier in the day even.
Yeah. The place where you have a chair, right? Even if your name's technically not on it.
Yes. So here is the question behind tonight's episode. And that is, when does a cigar shop stop being just a store and it becomes a gathering place?
Yeah, and that's a great question, Mel, because a store sells you something. A gathering place gives you somewhere to belong.
Yes, I think that's the real difference. So a couple of quick disclaimers before we get started tonight. This is not an episode that claims every cigar lounge is perfect. Of course, nothing is perfect, but you can get close. And this is also not saying that smoking creates the friendship automatically. The cigar opens the door for people, and the people decide after that what's next.
Yeah, absolutely, Mel. And so that's where this gets interesting.
Right. Yep. So, all right, Rebels, let's cut, light, and settle in.
Yeah. So, Mel, before we get to what we're smoking tonight, I just want to say hi. Leslie said, "Hey, Rebels, good to see you, Leslie." Krista's in the house. Evening. Addie's here. Great to see everybody. So, Mel, what are we actually? I've totally thrown that off. What are we smoking tonight, Mel?
Tonight we are smoking the Flathead Speed Shop by CAO. It has an Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, a San Andreas binder, and the Nicaraguan and Dominican fillers.
Yeah. So what are you getting on the cold draw so far, Mel?
So I have a very smooth cold draw with this cigar. The ring gauge and the box press is not something I normally reach for, but it's a very good, smooth cold draw so far, and maybe a little bit of toasted cedar in there.
Right. Yeah, my problem with this cigar right off the bat, and it's happened on every one I've smoked of it, is unless you use a perfect cutter, and what I mean by the perfect cut that we've talked about with the back that's a full 62s, that no cigar shop cutter cuts it worth a crap.
Yeah.
Half my wrapper's off the top, and I've taken one cold draw. I haven't even lit it yet. And so looking at it, I probably have just about above the band is all wrapped off. And I've experienced that. I've smoked 5 of these in different sizes. It's happened on every single one of them. But it's not happened. Let me say, I've smoked 5 of them. It's happened on 3 of them. On the 2 I used a perfect cut, it didn't happen at all.
Yeah.
It just snipped the top off, which is why I'm such a big believer in preaching the perfect cut. I know people don't like it. They like to use their own thing. But there's just some cigars that the perfect cut is, well, perfect.
Yeah.
On the cold draw, there's this light hint of pepper. You might have mentioned that. I was more frustrated with the cigar, not listening. But definitely this light pepper, or maybe this little citrus. As you mentioned, the draw is fantastic, even though it's not really my size preference. I'm much of a smaller ring gauge. I used to like 660s. I moved way more into the Corona, Lancero. But overall, the cold draw is great. Let's go ahead and get this cigar lit tonight. The lighting is brought to you by the Elevated Humidor.
Some moments deserve more than just passing by. They deserve to be celebrated. That's the philosophy behind the Elevated Humidor. Born from a passion for hand-rolled premium cigars, TEH blends world-class tobaccos from the Dominican Republic and Nicaragua into cigars crafted with tradition, precision, and purpose. Whether you're marking a milestone, closing a deal, or simply taking a well-earned pause, the Elevated Humidor turns a simple moment into a lasting memory. With 4 distinct collections crafted to satisfy every palate, there's truly something for everyone. Explore the smooth refinement of the Velvet Collection, the elevated sophistication of the Elegant Collection, the timeless character of the Core Collection, or the flavor experience of our Infused Collection. Visit your preferred tobacconist and ask for the Elevated Humidor by name. If you don't find us on the shelf, our premium collections are available online through our trusted retail partner, Two Guys Cigars, bringing exceptional craftsmanship and unforgettable experiences directly to your door. The Elevated Humidor. Celebrate life the elevated way.
As always, thank you to our sponsors. Now that we have this lit, sorry, I was a little caught off guard. We've got our live audience here, and one of them held up her cigar and was showing the unwrapped wrapper on there. So I was just threw me off guard a little bit. But thank you to our sponsors. Now that we have this lit, I know you're missing a tiny bit of your wrapper on there, but.
Well, and again, as I said to the live audience as we're in the commercial break, because Mel goes, I got another one of my humidors. I said, no, I'll smoke it. It smokes just fine.
Yeah.
It's just the idea of, for this wrapper, this Habano wrapper they use is very thin.
Yep.
It's a beautiful wrapper, so I don't have any issues with it. I just wish I would have cut it differently. And I wanted to go to the comments because Krista said that she got hay and earthiness on the cold draw, sweet horse barn when smelling it. But Roper had brought, I used that big nub punch, and then followed right up by Dwayne. Hey, Dwayne, good to see you. Popcorn said, normally use a punch on the Flathead, didn't tonight, and I'm regretting it already. And that's exactly my point, is when we talk about cutters and lighters, and this isn't an episode about cutters and lighters, but we've talked about this in the past, that different cuts sometimes make a difference on the cigar you're smoking. And people go, oh, I always do this, I always do that. And I really think that's a horrible reality. You use the right cutter to the cigar. On this cigar, the perfect cut is perfect, or probably that that punch would have been spectacular. I like a good punch. Mm-hmm. It's just the way the cigar is shaped. It would have been much better. Yeah. So anyways, Addie said, ladies rule, Leslie. So it's great to see there. Tammy said, hi, everybody. And then Leslie said, yes, we do. I love this representation tonight. All right, so Mel, outside of the fact that women rule, and we already knew that, let's get into the topic tonight.
You're not going to get any argument from me. So we're going to go ahead and start with the familiar experience. So you're going to visit, a cigar shop for the first time. You are walking through the humidor. You buy a cigar, you sit down, and at that point, it is a business that you're visiting.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you return and someone recognizes you, Mel. Someone remembers your name. They remember what you smoked. Maybe they remembered why you were in town or what you're doing. And then maybe they ask you, hey, did you enjoy that cigar? And a conversation begins.
Yeah. Then maybe you come back again. Hopefully you do. Now you recognize a few faces. You learn someone's name. And also someone remembers yours. Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah, right. And so it's one of those things that all of that occurs. Then one day you walk in and the conversation continues from the last time you were there as if you had never left. Nobody must reintroduce you. Nobody asks you what brought you in. You're simply expected or simply in the conversation.
Right. And that's really the shift. The shop has become your shop at that point.
Absolutely. There's a pattern of belonging that has truly formed. You know the people, they know you, your absence and your presence are both noted. are recognized.
Yep. And that's when the cigar culture is built in lounges. It's not by accident. It's never an accident. It is cultivated and it's never manufactured.
Okay. The truth is, Mel, it's very difficult to manufacture, impossible maybe, if we're really honest about it. It has to be carefully cultivated over time.
Right. You can build the beautiful lounge. You can have the excellent ventilation. You can stock a great humidor with everything that everybody's going to want.
Yeah, you can choose comfortable furniture. You can set the lighting. You can set the music. You can set the chairs.
Right. Those things are going to create the conditions, but the people are what really create the place.
Yeah, I could not agree with you more. A lounge can be very expensive and finely designed and still feel cold.
That's true. A simple shop that's got mismatched chairs can feel like home. And that doesn't mean that the facilities and the services don't matter, really. They do, but the belonging is not contained to the furniture.
Yeah, the belonging, it truly lives in the greeting when someone walks in, either that be a member, a regular, or somebody new. The introduction, the invitation to join the conversation, all of that builds the culture.
Right. And in the sentence, it's good to see you again.
Yeah. And so let's talk about the phrase cigar smokers use all the time. Cigars are the true unifier. Is that true, Mel?
So it can be, but I think we need to explain what we mean a little bit. A cigar does not erase every disagreement. It's not automatically going to remove the opinions or beliefs that you have, and it doesn't make every room inclusive.
Yeah, I would agree with that, because the unifier or the unifying power is simpler. It's not complicated. It's easy. Everyone begins with one simple interest, the cigar.
Right. The cigar gives strangers that first question, which is, what are you smoking? It's always the safe and easy one.
Yeah, it's the easy question. It's the introduction question.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes the frustrating question.
Right.
Right? Because sometimes I'm smoking something that I'm not trying to show off.
Right.
Like, I just want to enjoy a great cigar. Like, I was having this Opus X when we were in Indiana, and I was doing it from a celebratory standpoint. And the guy next to me was, hey, what are you smoking? And like, I didn't want to tell him.
Yeah.
Like, because I wasn't trying to be the snooty guy. I was just like, I'd never seen it. It was a $100 cigar. I just closed a business deal. I was wanting to celebrate a little bit. And so, like, I was like, well, I'm smoking this Opus X Society. And he's like, oh man, I wish I could afford that. So as we were leaving, I bought one and gave it to the tobacconist and said, hey, can you give that guy over there after I leave? Because we weren't trying to be that guy. So sometimes it's a little scary, right?
Yeah.
But the question truly has started an immeasurable amount or a remarkable number of friendships.
Right.
I went off script for a minute.
No, you're fine. But I think that that's really true, because it's also a very easy to answer, whether you want to answer it or not. It's easy to answer. You most likely know what you're smoking. I didn't say 99% of the time.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you might.
And oftentimes you want to tell everybody.
Something unbanded, yeah.
Normally I want to tell everybody about what I'm smoking because I want them to try it. Even if I don't like it, they may love it, right?
Yeah.
What I don't like, someone else loves.
Mm-hmm. Right. But asking that question, it doesn't ask what you do for a living. It doesn't ask how much money you're making. It doesn't ask who you voted for, where you went to school, what position you hold, or really anything that could be like I don't know you. I don't want to answer that.
The reality is it asks you, hey, what's in your hand?
Right.
Simple, easy.
Yep. And from there, the conversation can move naturally. Where did you find it? Have you smoked it before? What do you normally enjoy? Have you visited the shop before?
Yeah, and so at that point, the cigar becomes social permission,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's the opportunity to join in a conversation. It gives you the reason to speak to someone you do not know. Not that I ever need a reason.
Right. Yeah, very true. But that does matter because adults often struggle to begin new friendships. And that's because we have the fewer built-in introductions than we had when we were younger. There's no classroom, there's no playground, there's no team that's chosen for us. There's no, they make online things where you can meet friends, but you even got to be careful when you do that these days. It's just not the same as when you were a kid.
Yeah, walking up to a stranger in most places and saying, "Would you like to talk for the next hour?" feels a little strange.
Yeah. Well, maybe not for you, but for most people.
Well, that's true.
I don't even know. Sometimes you're just someone's gonna say one thing to you, and then you're gonna be best buds.
Hey, don't sit next to me in an airplane if you don't want a 3-hour conversation.
But in the cigar lounge, the cigar answers the question really before you ask it. So both people have already chosen to slow down for the day. They're in the same place. They're in the same headspace.
Yeah. So in the cigar does not guarantee connection, but it reduces the friction for one to begin. Right. So before we jump any further, I want to jump to a handful of comments because there's some great comments out here tonight. Love the conversation. Keep it going tonight, guys. It doesn't have to be your local shop either. I know when Popcorn and I visit Two Guys, we're welcome as if we visited there every day. Could not agree more. Dave said, go Stories. Stories is our second home and the members are our family. Absolutely. And then Simple Man Cigar said, hey, glad to join y'all tonight. Man, it is good to see you guys with us. Back to the conversation. We have a little bit more around that cigar shop culture coming up in a little bit after the break. But
yeah. So one of the reasons that cigar lounges can unify people is that the table can really act as that social leavener. So at the same table, you can find a business owner, you can find a mechanic, you can find a lawyer, a firefighter, a nurse, a truck driver. I mean, the possibilities really are endless.
Yeah, we were sitting at a lounge a couple of days ago, and there was really a truck driver, a firefighter, a pro fighter, the CEO of a company, and a senator. Mm-hmm. And we're all sitting there talking, and the guy explaining about the cigar to everybody was the mechanic.
Yeah.
In most circles, that wouldn't be the person kind of leading the conversation. But someone starting a career and someone finishing one can sit at the same table and have a phenomenal conversation and friendship because of the unifier in our hand.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Out in the world, many people may move completely through their career in different environments, different social economics, different neighborhoods, different beliefs. And at the lounge, everyone's dealing with the same basic problem.
Right. Is the cigar, is it burning evenly? Did the lighter run out of fuel? Who has the cutter? If you have a mobile cutter in the lighter, the cigar creates that common ground. And how many times maybe if you were meeting someone new who did not have a cigar, how many times does that first couple sentences, does it build up maybe who they are in a person to you before you even really get to know them? Because maybe they said something right off the bat, maybe you agree with wholeheartedly, maybe you don't agree with, but having the cigar is a good connector because you're usually starting out talking about the cigar.
Yeah. So Leslie said that sounded like the beginning of a good joke or a country song. I agree. I got to come up with one for that. Yeah. But absolutely.
So a person's title for their job, that may come eventually, but it rarely leads the conversation with a cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. And so sometimes you know someone for months before learning what they do professionally. Right. There's so many things in that scenario.
Yeah. And by then maybe, your opinion of them has been found through that direct interaction. Like I was kind of just mentioning a second ago, this is where the phrase great unifier has that real meaning.
Yeah. And the cigar can really, what's the right word? It can really place people beside one another long enough to begin to discover something beyond category, beyond status. You may still disagree. Unity is not uniformity. It just means you can sit in the same place and enjoy a hobby.
Yeah. It's not going to make automatic friendships. And there are still people who smoke cigars with other people sometimes, and probably they're not their favorite person, but most of the time they will still have a cigar with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I think is pretty rare if you compare that to the real world, where it's like, okay, I don't like that person, I'm just going to leave.
Yeah, and so I know it's definitely true at our lounge, and it's true at other lounges we visited, that there are members that aren't always the favorite person of another member, and yet you see them sitting at the table or in the chairs next to each other smoking a cigar sometimes, because we're both in this space enjoying a cigar and enjoying each other's company. That I don't have to be, and I'll use example, David sitting across the room from us. I don't have to be David's biggest fan to sit down and have a good conversation with him about the cigar he's smoking. Although I am his biggest fan, because tonight he gave me my father Le Bijou 100 Anos, and so thank you. But we can still sit down and enjoy a conversation, right?
Right.
I don't have to be like, oh my gosh, I am so thankful David's here in order to do a cigar. I can be like, oh, Dave's here. You know what? No one else is here. Let's have a conversation.
Right.
And I end up leaving, having a great time.
Right. I think it's really that ability that you can share a table, and that doesn't require everyone that you're sharing the same table with to all be the same person. You're
Rich,
still allowed.
I had to jump involved, so it fits the thing. So Richard joined for the first time in a couple of weeks. So like, Rich. So it reminds me of Cheers when Norm walked in. So trying to, because we're talking about gathering places, right? The ultimate gathering place. Sorry, I cut you off.
You're good.
She's looking at me with contempt now. This is not the positive experience.
We're talking about favorite people right now.
Yeah. So, as you said, the ability to share a table without requiring everyone to become the same person is such a rare skill or reality in today's society. But why does a cigar work differently from a quick cup of coffee or another retail purchase, Mel?
Yeah, I think it's the time and the passion and the proximity that everybody shares. A premium cigar might take 45 minutes or an hour, or it could take much longer. This one is probably going to take me longer than our show tonight.
Yeah,
most likely,
absolutely.
I would say. And that cigar is demanding that you have that slow down. You have that connection.
Yeah, absolutely. The cigar demands that you slow down, and the others sitting around you are really doing the same thing, Mel.
Right.
Everyone's pausing for this period of time.
Right. Friendship is rarely going to develop because two people scheduled a formal 60-minute relationship building session. Even if that is what your plan is, I think when I'm making a new friend, I don't know that I've ever been like, all right, let's have a meeting, see if we can be good friends. We'll take, 30, 40 minutes, nothing too serious. 60 is a little long for me, but it develops. Having the cigar, it's natural. It develops in the extra minutes that you have the cigar. The conversation after that original topic ends, you can move on, all those things.
Yeah, it's really the story that no one planned to tell, right?
Exactly. Cigars also create those natural pauses. Nobody has to fill every second of the air. You can take a puff. You can let your cigar burn. You can look at the burn. You guys can admire each other's ashes. How often does that happen? Or if it falls on someone, how often is that a topic of conversation?
Right.
The smoke can settle, and you can it's a very natural environment.
Yeah, and the silence doesn't feel broken. It feels normal. I was in here a couple of nights ago, and there were three of us sitting here smoking a cigar. There were two sitting over there, and I was sitting over here. I think we went like 20, 30 minutes without anybody saying a word. No one was on their phone. It wasn't like we were all doom scrolling. We were just enjoying, and then somebody brought up a conversation, and the next hour flew by. But for like 20, 30 minutes, we're just simply having a conversation with ourselves, apparently, because no one was talking. I was thinking about work. I was thinking about the next thing, and I was just kind of letting the day melt away. So I assumed that's what everybody else was doing. But the silence when it comes to having a cigar doesn't create awkwardness. It actually creates more belonging.
Right. And that makes the conversation less demanding. People can speak without the performance. They can listen without looking for that immediate response. I guess for me personally, it takes a lot of pressure off of making that new friend, potentially, finding common grounds, all those things.
Yeah, and because nobody's rushing, the conversation can really move past the usual surface level topics.
Right, right. A cigar starts with the "what are you smoking?" An hour later, people can be discussing a lot of different things: family, work, loss, celebration, goals, relationships,
Yeah.
faith, business, health challenges, maybe major life decisions.
Yeah, and the reality is that escalated quickly, right?
Well, I mean,
I mean,
sometimes it does, though.
It's how it happens, though, right? You
Mhm.
start with a cigar and end up trying to decide if I should move to New Hampshire or not.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. The cigar creates that time, and the shared table creates the opportunity.
Yeah, in the title for tonight's show, we talked or used the term the third place. So, Mel, let's move beyond simply talking about gathering places and let's talk about third place. So, what is the third place?
So the term third place comes from the urban sociologist Ray Oldenburg. The concept is simple. The first place is home, the second place is work. The third place is the informal gathering place that is outside of both.
Yeah, and so historically, the third place, when you're looking at Ray's work, it's a coffee house, a pub, a barber shop, the diner, a park, a library, a church hall. Some social clubs fit into it, not all of them, but a few, or a neighborhood shop. I think of the little bookstore in You Got Mail, right? Everybody just gathers in the little the bookstore around the corner or around the corner, whatever it's called. Like people just gather there to hang out, right?
Yep.
That's really the idea of the third place.
Right. And the important point is that the third place is not defined only by the building, but it's defined by what the people do there. So a coffee shop oftentimes is full of isolated people that are wearing headphones, that maybe they're working or maybe they're doing public business there, but it may not be necessarily functioning as the third place for the moment.
Yeah,
really.
And a place becomes a third place when people linger, interact, and develop relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of jumping off of topic for a second is a lot of people think of bars or pubs used to be the third place where you bellied up to the bar, you hung out with people, you interacted. But in today's society, sociologists think that bars are no longer that. Bars are partying, the music's loud, they're sports bars. So you don't have the traditional bar in the majority of the country that people belly up to the bar and hang out and talk about life with people. It's not experienced as much in the large portion of the country. Now, you get into some of the upper Midwest, some small towns, you have a little bit more of that. But as a whole, like if you were to go to Dallas, Fort Worth, or Houston, or Atlanta, Chicago, you're not going to belly up to a bar where a lot of people know each other. There's so much transient traffic. It's not a lingering place. It's not a third place.
Right.
In today's sociological viewpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about that, Oldenburg identified 8 characteristics commonly found in third places in his original research.
Mm-hmm.
And so why don't we go ahead and jump off into that, and I'll launch and kind of let you have a comment. So the first one's called neutral ground. So tell us about that.
So the first is a third place is going to provide that neutral ground, like you just said. So nobody has to host it. Nobody has to invite you to be there. And people can arrive and leave voluntarily, which is perfect for me. You know,
Yeah,
I love
so-
that low pressure, you know.
Yeah,
like-
and that truly fits a cigar lounge. You can come in, purchase a cigar, sit down, participate without cleaning your house first.
Right. And you don't have to ask everybody to leave when you get tired, because you can just leave when you're ready.
Right, absolutely. And second, a third place can act as a leveler. Outside status becomes less important than participation inside the room. At the table, the cigar person with the highest job title may know the least about cigars.
Yeah, that's very true. And the person that is giving them guidance may come from a completely different background.
Yeah, expertise and respect are earned differently inside the cigar shop.
Right. And third, conversation is central. So that may be the strongest match for cigar lounges.
Absolutely. People are not usually staring at a stage.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just staring up at a TV screen. They're often facing each other.
Right. And that's why we talk about furniture placement matters. A circle of chairs that invites the interaction, but rows facing television may reduce that.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless the game itself or what's on the screen becomes the center of conversation.
Right. The television really can support the community or it can replace it depending on what's on that. And then fourth is going to be third places are the reasonably accessible and accommodating to their regulars.
Yeah, absolutely. I personally believe that every community, Mel, deserves to have a cigar shop with at least a small public smoking lounge that can kind of become that third place for that community.
Yeah, I agree with that.
In all the cigar shops I've walked into over the years, there's really only been one where I walked in and really felt like they weren't excited that I was there. We walked in, they had these chairs lining the row, and you had to kind of walk between the chairs. And on both sides of the TV, they actually were watching Tombstone, which is a fantastic movie. But as I'm walking in, like the only way to get into the shop was walking down this aisle. 3 different people yelled at me that I was in front of the TV. Like, okay, first off, who has not seen Tombstone at least a dozen times?
Okay, so I have not seen Tombstone.
Then that's your fault.
So no spoilers.
But the problem is, if you have not seen it, that is your issue. Watch it at home. But the guy who owns the cigar shop, I was actually coming in. I was going to buy 3 or 4 cigars. I was going to smoke a couple while I worked. Mel was going to join me an hour later, probably buy a few more. I mean, I was in at $100 to $200. Instead, I grabbed a cigar. I walked across the street. There was a coffee shop that I walked in and I said, hey, is there any way I can sit out here and smoke a cigar? And the coffee shop owner goes, F it, go for it. And I'm like, that's my man right there. It was a woman, but I was like, that's my man.
Yeah.
And I walked outside. I worked there. I bought 2 coffees and Mel wanted to go and smoke that one cigar because Mel had my humidor. I needed a cigar.
Yeah.
But like, that's the only time I've not felt welcome. And it was almost like this was a club, but that is rare.
Yeah.
Rare when it comes to cigar shops.
Yep. And I would say sometimes, lounges or something, they'll do hey, we're doing a movie night. And that's a little bit different, because they'll do one time everybody's gathering to watch a movie, but then again, you're all gathering together. So.
And Krista, I'm not passionate about watching Tombstone. I am passionate about if you're sitting in a cigar shop, watch a show. It is your fault that is where you chose to watch it for the first time. Like, even if you're watching a sports game or you're watching a news update, if you're doing it at a Public cigar shop, you got to expect people are going to be walking around. People are going to be talking. That's just the reality, right?
100%. So I'm going to move on to the fifth one now. So
I'll get off the horse.
Yeah. The fifth one
Pun intended.
is that the third places have regulars. So regulars are what really create that community.
That shop had regulars. They just didn't like me.
Well, I mean, and this would probably be the truth, that the regulars, they are the ones who give the room its personality. It just was not a personality that agreed with you. So.
Absolutely. You walk in expecting certain people to be there when there's regulars, right?
Right.
You know who you're going to see walking in.
Right. And they often introduce newcomers to the culture of the room. That can be very positive, or it can also be negative, but we'll get back to that. Yeah.
So the sixth of these 8 is the third places are usually comfortable and relatively unpretentious, unlike that shop. Even an upscale lounge needs to feel usable and relaxed.
Right. Luxury does not have to mean that stiffness.
Yeah, we've been to a few of those as well, but most of them do a really great job. A third place should allow people to relax rather than constantly worry whether they belong or not.
Right. And 7th is going to be that the mood is often playful. So there's going to be humor, there's going to be stories, there's going to be maybe friendly teasing in there, some inside jokes. all of those
Some
things.
financial optimism.
Right. It's the place that you walk in, the people are happy to see you, even if they don't know you.
Yeah, and the TV shows captured, or the TV show Cheers really captured this perfectly. When Norm walked in, everybody said, all right, that went way less thought than I thought it would go.
So I've never seen
And
Cheers
so
either.
Mel's never seen Cheers either. So apparently I have failed as a husband. But we will correct this as I'm learning these new things. And I'm learning it over a cigar. See all the things you learn over a cigar? Getting back in. But when Norm walked into Cheers, everybody yelled, Norm. And then if somebody new walked in, they invited them up and there was instant conversation, right? The Woody at the bar or Sam starts asking them questions, or Cliff would walk over and sit next to them and ask them about their day. And that pictures the perfect third place. That's why I think cigar shops are the third place today, because you see that in a cigar shop. There's not a stranger in a cigar shop.
Yes, I agree. So finally, we'll get to that last point. The third place is going to develop the home away from home feeling, or the Cheers feeling, I'm going to say. People experience that
She's a quick
familiarity, the comfort, and also the belonging.
Yeah, absolutely. You know where things are. You know the rhythm. You know the people, right? And the people know you. That is the full third place experience.
Right. It's not merely where you're allowed to sit or anything like that. It's somewhere that no matter where you're sitting, your presence being there really matters.
Yeah, Mel, and you mentioned earlier that regulars making or breaking the ability to be a third place. And I absolutely agree with that. Let's talk about regulars in a cigar shop for a few minutes before we go to break, because every good lounge has regulars. We even have regulars here at Cigar Rebel. We got the regulars that are in the audience live with us. We got the regulars that are online watching live around the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the regulars are going to be the bridge that is between the business and the community. So the owner provides the space, the staff protects the standards, but the regulars are oftentimes going to determine the daily emotional temperature.
Yeah, absolutely. A welcoming regular does several things naturally. They say hello, they make the room, they introduce people, they explain traditions without turning them into tests or rules.
Yeah. And honestly, the regulars sometimes, they're honest. We had a regular come in last week and I was here and he had a tough day at work and he's like, I feel like I could murder someone. I was like, have a cigar first. And that helped. But they're going to notice who's sitting alone and they're going to invite the newcomer into the conversation without interrogating them. It's just going to be very natural.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just laughing at the comments all talking about Cheers and Tombstone. So apparently that's the topic tonight.
Yeah.
But we walked on.
I won't know much about it. But
yeah, absolutely. So
I can go to the quick notes.
They also regulars know when someone wants quiet. Because sometimes somebody comes into a room, like tonight, we've got a half a dozen people sitting in the room. Someone might walk in and sit in the corner alone because they need to de-escalate from the day. They need it to wash away.
Right.
Then they can engage. A regular, they get to know that.
Yeah.
They get to see that and read that.
Right. And that matters too. And not every lounge is set up that way, but I know like here we have a couple of pockets where if you want to be alone, there are places that you could sit that probably nobody's going to bother you because they might not even know you're there really. But hospitality, that doesn't mean forcing participation. A person should be allowed to read or work or enjoy the cigar privately if that is their vibe for the day.
Right. And a good regular can make a first-time customer return.
Right.
More so than the staff or the humidor.
Right. So someone who is a territorial regular, they can make sure that newcomer never comes back.
That's true, too. Those guys watching Tombstone, I mean, I'm never going back to that cigar shop unless I'm broken down and need a cigar. And it's like right there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the gas station might work. But when am I really ever without a cigar?
Very rarely.
I mean, but that truly is the danger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, a regular who turns people off, who pushes people away. But the regulars become so comfortable that they begin treating the public lounge like a private living room.
Right. Maybe they're dominating the conversation. Maybe they are controlling the television. If someone has something up, they just come in and change it without asking or something like that. Maybe they talk over the staff, or they reserve chairs that don't belong to them. They judge the unfamiliar cigars they don't know. Maybe they make the newcomer feel just bad, or what they're smoking's wrong, or they need permission to sit somewhere.
Yeah, and what you're talking about is when a regular or the belonging becomes ownership and really becomes excluding.
Yeah. And the healthy third place culture then can begin to fall.
Yeah, absolutely. The regular's privilege should produce responsibility, not entitlement.
Right. So on that thought, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to cover the familiar to friend and answer the question on cigar lounges and one of the last third places. Is that a cigar lounge?
Yeah, and we'll be right back.
We fell in love with cigars not because of the flavors or smoking experience or perceived status, but because it allows barriers to fall between other humans and build deeper connections. For that reason, we've been super intentional to curate a space where people can find community and enjoyment with others, and cigars just happen to be the way we're doing it. For that reason, we are thrilled to be the one and only cigar retail store and lounge in downtown Lufkin. A good story is one of the most powerful tools used to connect with another human. Sharing stories fades out differences and highlights similarities found in the details or with the storyteller. Over the years, we have seen some of the best stories told over cigars, and thus, new friendships are made, passions shared, encouragement given, and so much more. The impact storytelling has on the human connection is why we've decided to name our store and lounge Stories. Because behind every good cigar and conversation is an even better story.
Back in 1905, under Montana skies, 100 satin factories rolled smoke for a while. Reminders of ranchers' life, one and grin. Now Big Sky Cigar is bringing that spirit back in.
Yellowstone River to the bold bighorn flow. Madison, Beirut, like what we know. And Lee from Nicaragua, San Andres to them. Ecuador rolled up.
And every box sold helps our veterans men. With warriors and quiet waters, we lend a friend's hand. It's heritage burning and ever it raw. Big Sky Cigars, Montana's pride and law. Big Sky Cigar, where heritage flows will ever draw. Find your river at Big Sky Cigar to pop.
Water, there's a filtered water system.
As always, thank you to our sponsors. Sorry, we go off script and talk live.
Yeah, so we're
During
introducing a
commercials,
guest
yeah.
to where our sodas are in the room.
Yeah. Yep.
So let's jump to the shows that are coming up soon. So next week on August 3rd, I can't believe next week is August 3rd, Mel.
I know.
But on August 3rd is Cigar Recommendations, recommending cigars for every level of smoker. And we're going to be smoking the McAuliffe White.
Yep. Everybody get your fall stuff out and your pumpkin stuff ready. August 10th is Misunderstood Dark Cigars. Are dark cigars really stronger? And we will be smoking the Montosa Maduro. We have quite a few people in the audience excited about that topic. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Be a good one.
August 17th, industry discussion. We're going to have Tony Rollins with Steel City Cigars live with us here in our lounge, as well as here on the podcast. We're going to be launching Steel City Cigars. And we have 2 cigars we're trying to choose through. The decision was made earlier today because the Rebel packs were mailed out today to all of our followers with the Rebel pack. Mel sent those out today. So the decision's been made. I just don't know which one she made. I can't remember. August 24th, a shift is coming. The industry's changing, and we're going to be smoking the Lady Jade by the Elevated Humidor. Lots of great shows coming up now.
Yep. I'm excited.
Comments out there on the Rebel Pack. You can always subscribe to those. It is $43. That includes 5 cigars, shipping and tax all included for $43. Right now, the average pack value is about $69 for the months that we've done it. And so they do ship out around the 20th to the 25th of every month. And so you can subscribe at the Elevated Humidor's website and click on Cigar Rebel at the top. For this podcast, you can always go ahead and, okay, I cannot click. Bad technology tonight, Mel. Make sure you go ahead and click on that subscribe button down there in the bottom. Also on YouTube, you can click notify me and it'll let you know of all the upcoming shows. And of course, you can get all the podcasts anywhere you stream your podcast, Spotify, Amazon, Apple. It's all out there and available for us. But you can only catch us live on Monday nights at 7 p.m. And we love having you guys live because we love the live chat and interaction. But Mel, checking on the cigar, CAO Flathead Speed Shop V660. What are your thoughts? Third and a half through the cigar.
Yeah, so I'm probably about halfway through at this point. And for me, it has a little bit of sweetness in there. And it's got some of those maybe baking spices. It's slowly building. I didn't really have any spice when we first lit the cigar, but as it's continued a little bit, that's lingering a little bit for me. Mainly in the mid or the center of my tongue is where that is kind of building.
Yeah, so the cigar is smoking great. I made a lot of comments around the wrapper peeling off, the way I cut it. Again, my fault's 100%.
Or my fault because I cut it.
I know you cut it, but I was taking the blame. I said I didn't care and I should have cared. But it's smoking great, draws great. There's a little bit of a natural sweetness there that I can't make a place on. It's just there. It's kind of, and it hits at different times. On the retro hell, it's definitely there. It's on the finish. And there's a little bit of a nuttiness to it.
Yeah.
Definitely on the finish that I'm enjoying. Again, not the typical size I would smoke, but, I've enjoyed it so far. And so, hey, we got quite a bit of topic to kind of wrap up through to get to this third place question. Is the cigar shop the last third place, or at least one of them? Let's jump back into the topic and answer some questions.
All right. So, friendships in a cigar shop, they can often form slowly, or if you're here a lot, maybe as a regular, you regulars are here a lot, it goes a little quicker. But the first stage is going to be that recognition, the face. And when we open the lounge, I'm terrible with remembering people's names. It takes me quite a few times to remember. But when we open the lounge, one of my goals was to try and remember everybody's that became a member, their name. And I think for the most part to this day, I still can remember almost everybody's name. There's only maybe 2 or 3. I'm like, oh, I'll send you a text. What's that person's name? Because you'll remember them.
Yeah, and it's so often, you're right. It's you want to have that belonging, right? And it's so often that regulars in cigar shops transition from a familiar face to a friend that you really look forward to spending time with.
Right.
You learn their name. You learn about them, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you learn their cigar preference. All of that probably will happen before you know their last name, really.
So true. The relationships begin to move beyond the cigar.
Right. You're going to learn about their work. You're going to learn about their family, their history, maybe what they're currently dealing with in life.
Yeah, and this reminds me of a funny scenario. So we had opened Story Cigars and Lounge, and there was somebody that I began to enjoy having conversations with, and when they were there, at the time they were coming in most Thursday afternoons, so I'd kind of make a point to drop in on Thursdays to have a cigar with them and really enjoyed it. We talked a little bit about cigars and life and different things, and I knew that he worked in the electric industry or he was an electrician or whatever, but one day we were sitting in the lounge and we were just kind of chatting and talking, and he had a really kind of a rough day. And I was apologizing, man, I'm so sorry I had a rough day. I was like, no, it's okay. At the end of the day, I have to go work on this project. And he began to describe the project. And I was like, he's describing my project to the company I run. And so I'm sitting there talking, and I was like, you're not so-and-so of so-and-so, because the name of the company is his last name. But I'd never put 2 to 2 together. And on the projects, because he worked with one of my team members that runs the project, had mentioned my name, but he'd never connected it here. We'd been having a cigar once a week for like 3 months.
Yeah.
and never connected that both of our biggest projects going on in that 3-month period was with each other's companies.
Right.
Which is kind of a funny thing. Like that's the brilliance or the value of the cigar shop.
Right.
It never came up. It wasn't important.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I remember that day. I mean, really, and it's funny because there's times, because I'm not from here originally. So when people tell me their name, I don't know the history most of the time because I'm not from here. So I always think that that's really interesting. I know it's the same for you, how, maybe if we had grown up here and knew, we'd been different, but that's where the cigar, the cigar shops become that familiarity. It becomes the friendship. It becomes the real connection. And, you can have someone, you can help someone move. Maybe they help with the business connection. Like you guys have been working on those projects, and you may not have ever officially met in any sort of capacity, like face to face, had you not had the cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really is this crazy kind of scenario where people connect over the cigar, over the unifier, and begin to build a friendship. And as you said, eventually you help somebody move, you help make a business connection that somebody needs, you attend a birthday party, you visit them at the hospital. We've had a group of people from the lounge go to a funeral for a member of the lounge, unfortunately, and then also for a family member of a member of the lounge that we just wanted to be supportive.
Yeah.
You celebrate a promotion, or you go on a road trip on curvy roads and share cigars, all these kind of things.
Yes. The relationship ends up leaving the shop. And that's really one of the important transitions. The lounge may have created the introduction, but the genuine friendship becomes larger than the shared hobby that originally brought you together.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really is the reality that it's a shared hobby, right? A cigar friendship is real when the cigar is no longer required.
Right. And you may still enjoy cigars together, but the relationship, it can survive without one even being lit.
Yeah, we recently had dinner with somebody in Fort Worth that's a member here at the shop, and we joked on the way out, we're like, hey, our first experience without a lit cigar.
Yeah.
And so it was funny because we were both there. We happened to be going to the same comedy show and grabbed dinner afterwards.
Yeah.
But it really is funny because it's why the word community should not be used casually, Mel.
Right.
Community is not a group photograph. It's a community.
Right. It's the repeated action. It's the checking on people. It's offering help. It's all celebrating the good news together. It's showing up during those difficult moments. It's a lot of different things. It's doing life together.
Absolutely. You know when someone is missing.
Right. And you care enough to ask why and where are they?
Right. Absolutely. And we could end right here. Cigars create real friendships. They create real connection, right?
Right. And the relationships with some of the people in the world, really. I mean, you and I have been all over the country. We've met people all over the country and the world, and we could call them in a pinch, and without hesitation, they would respond with assistance, and it's all because of the cigar.
Man, that is so true. We are so blessed with friends all over the country and around the world. And so now, let's talk on the title-worthy argument. Is the cigar shop one of the last third places?
So there are libraries, the cafes, parks, churches, community centers, there's barbershops, there's the clubs, there's the other gathering places that still exist.
Yeah, but culturally, cigar lounges may be among the last places that preserve the traditional third place rhythm, in my opinion.
Right, and I think that's the argument, because some of the other places that we mentioned in today's age, I feel like with just access to phones, technology, you can work remotely. A lot of those places you can go and never talk to a single person.
Yeah, they've become faster. They've become transactional. Order, pay, consume, leave, repeat, right? And if you linger, it's highly encouraged to wear AirPods and leave everybody else alone and be quiet, right? Some cafes still really welcome lingering, Mel, Others really need the tables back because the restaurant business is about turns. It used to be about community, but that's really changed. Retail stores are not designed for customers to remain for 2 hours after a single purchase.
Right. And remote work has really blurred the lines and the boundaries between home and work because you can work anytime.
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
for many people, the first and the second place are now even occupying those same rooms.
Yeah, which makes complete sense, which honestly, again, makes a genuine third location or a third place even more important.
Right. And digital communities, they do provide real connection for a lot of people, but really a group chat is not the same as sitting across from someone. And online, we can control who we follow, maybe who we talk to. We can mute people. We can exit the conversation if we're not having a good time. And honestly, you can really curate your own identity.
Yeah, and sitting in a cigar shop, you may sit beside whoever arrives next.
Right.
And that can be somebody random or it can be a great friend.
Yeah. And that accidental mixing, that's really part of the value. You encounter people that you did not select through that algorithm, or they weren't selected for you based on an algorithm.
Absolutely. There's different ages, different social economics, different careers, different backgrounds, different opinions,
Right.
different beliefs. And because the cigar takes time, you begin to connect and form connections and friendships because of that unifier.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right. The person becomes more complicated when you spend a true hour with them, and that complexity makes caricature a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, and based all of that, I would make the argument the cigar shop is one of the last third places, if not the last. In my mind, it is definitely one of the last third places where lingering conversation, regularity, and unlikely friendships are still a part of the business model.
Right.
That is the plan, to have this mixture of people hanging out.
Right. And I would agree with that 100%. I mean, how many times do we talk about cigar time? You could come in to maybe have one cigar and you're here for 6 or 7 hours because you're having a good time. No one's rushing you to leave. You're having good conversation. Bookstores, coffee shops, and others like them don't necessarily encourage that mingling in the same way. And social clubs have some of those traits,
Right.
but they're not necessarily built in the same way. It's still really easy to be apart and be isolated or feel very disconnected.
Absolutely. Richard said cigars are like the seed that is planted and friendships and relationships grow from the nurturing that is provided by the community. I love that. Agree. When it comes to being isolated or feeling disconnected, that's really hard to do in a cigar shop
Right.
unless you're really intentionally trying to be isolated.
Right.
But most are so welcoming, so greeting, and just happy to see another cigar smoker.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, people get excited when they learn that someone is a cigar smoker, and that doesn't necessarily come up in conversation a lot unless you happen to see someone smoking a cigar, or maybe you're meeting in a lounge.
Right.
But also, just to be clear, a room with cigars and chairs is not automatically a third place.
Yeah, and so Mel, we're running a little long on time, but just talk to me briefly, maybe 2 or 3, of why would a cigar shop fail at being a good third place?
Right. So a lounge can fail to be that third place really when, if someone is mocked for the type of cigar that they smoke.
Smoke
we've had
what you enjoy.
conversations about that before. You've got to let people smoke what they enjoy. If they don't want to go outside of their palate and try new things, that's okay. Like, smoke what you enjoy, or else there's no point in smoking, in my opinion. Maybe newcomers are ignored or don't feel welcomed, or that they're interrupting an important movie. The staff maybe doesn't treat them how they should have when they came in. The room maybe is dominated by one group or feels like a clique. Conversations can become hostile. I mean, the environment can feel, if it feels more performative than relaxed, then most likely that's going to be a problem, and it's not going to be that welcoming environment you want.
Yeah, and when everyone's staring at a separate screen, it really does kill that, right?
Right.
Physical proximity is not the same as connection. a shop can be totally full and still be completely socially empty, right?
Right.
The defining feature is not the building, it's the community, it's the behavior inside, right?
A true gathering place is going to produce that interaction, that comfort, the continuality, and the belonging.
Yeah. So jumping a little bit, as like I said, we're kind of running a little bit low on time. There are so many discussion points when it comes to this topic that we've not even gotten to tonight.
Right.
What are the few things that maybe are topics around this that we really don't even have time to get into?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's going to be the role between the owners and the staff, the responsibilities of the members and the regulars. Disagreeing without disconnection, I think, is a big one.
Absolutely.
Especially today, sometimes it can be really hard to know how to disagree with someone. Friendship, connection, and health. And that's really a lost impact of the third place. And then there's community. So there's the comparisons of the digital versus the physical, and the community outside of that third place.
Yeah,
so there's lots of others that I could go on and on. But
Dwayne made a comment. Over the course of time, I feel like I know everyone who regularly comments in the live chat, a brotherhood and sisterhood that bonds us all. And I agree, Dwayne. When we're talking about the online communities, we're talking about chat rooms and those things, when you're talking about like a podcast like this, and there's a couple of other ones that are out there, but intentionally in building Cigar Rebel, we wanted to build a community where it's why we live chat. We put up your comments. We comment on them. We want this to become a community where we share and enjoy. Richard's really good about having a completely different conversation than what the conversation of the topic that night is. He'll ask people about, hey, what have you smoked this cigar? Have you tried that? Have you been here? It's because he feels comfortable in just asking those questions amongst the live audience, knowing it's not going to detract or distract from what we're doing here in the podcast. And I love that. And it really is one of those things. And Leslie mentioned that we need to start a Discord for Cigar Rebels. I love that you said that. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, man, would we even be anywhere near as successful as some of the other ones that are out there? But definitely need to be thinking about it. But like you said, there's so many topic items, Mel, that we just couldn't even get to tonight. So much more on this topic and simply not enough time. We may have to revisit this topic here in a few months and talk about some of those things, because I think the role of owners and staff, relationships, disagreeing without disconnection, those are hour-long shows in among themselves, 100%.
Right.
But let's talk about our final thoughts on this cigar before we head out tonight.
Yeah, so for me, there hasn't been a lot of different transition from halfway. When we talked about it, I was at the halfway mark. Still, the draw on it for me is actually perfect. I think for this size cigar, I always appreciate that. Flavor notes are still the same. I still have that little bit of baking spice or something on the center of my tongue. There's a little bit of that earthiness in there. But
yeah, absolutely. And so I'm getting the earthiness. The only difference I see that I did not get in the first half, I'd love it y'all smoking in the chat or here in the live audience. I've picked up a woodiness in the second half that I wasn't before. And mine's canoeing pretty badly, which is 100% my problem with this box press. I got a hold of it like this, thinking about the show and not rotating it the way I normally would. So I created the canoeing. So I fully take that as user error at this point. But the cigars perform fantastically. And even with this canoe, I mean, it's not going to stop me from smoking. I'm not even going to touch it up. It'll catch up or fall off eventually.
Right.
But
and I think
to be
in one of the comments, Dwayne had asked if anyone had gotten any apricot. I think you.
Oh yeah, Dwayne did ask. They made an apricot. I don't know if anybody shake the room. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Anybody get apricot? Yep. Several thumbs up. Yep. I didn't pick up that apricot, but again, I'm talking a lot. I had a really long day and got to the shop probably 20 minutes before we went live.
Yeah.
I needed some caffeine, so I'm drinking a Coke Zero with it, which honestly impacts the flavor a little bit. I've cleansed my palate with some sparkling water a couple of times in between to make sure I could give notes. I would say all in all, not the cigar I would typically pick up, but I've enjoyed it. If you haven't had one, it deserves a smoke and a try. It may not be your favorite cigar. It may not be in your regular rotation, but it's worthy of smoking. But overall, that's kind of our show for tonight, Mel.
Yeah, I agree. So thank you guys all for joining us today. If you liked this episode, please leave us a review, share with your cigar friends, and hit us up with any topics you'd like us to cover or dive into in future episodes.
Dwayne said expanding to a 90-minute show in the future. It's a great topic idea for us to be thinking about. If you are watching or live, I can't talk. I'm thinking about Dwayne's comment. If you're watching or listening on replay, drop us a comment and leave us #ReplayFam. Let us know what you're smoking, maybe what you're pairing with the cigar during the show. Next week, we have a great episode coming up for you guys. Cigar recommendations for every level of smart.
You think about that?
I am losing it. I'm ready to be done, have a cigar.
So think about, he just asked about a 90-minute show. So now that we have, our audience has really grown, we can go ahead and say, since we have new subscribers, when we originally started the Cigar Rebel podcast, we were like, we're going to keep it to 45 minutes to an hour, because one of the biggest things of feedback that we got was that some cigar podcasts are just too long for people to watch or to listen to in one sitting.
Yes.
So not saying we can't evolve or we won't evolve, but as our viewers, let us know if that is ever something you would be interested in, if you would like it to be closer to 90 minutes or if the hour is more attainable to listen to in one sitting.
Yeah, and we actually created last week's Boxworthy episode to be a 40-minute episode to knock out and do, because we had a really tight schedule with some flights, and it turned out to be an hour and 10 minutes,
Yep.
and people loved it.
Yeah.
So it's always one of these crazy things, but join us next week for cigar recommendations for every cigar level of smoker. But tonight, that's our show.
Yep.
Drop in the comments, send us a comment on Facebook or YouTube, Instagram at Cigar Rebel. Let us know about the 90 minutes. Mel?
Yeah, and so thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next Monday at 7 p.m. Central Time. Until then, keep your cigar lit, your ash long, and your palate curious.
Good night, Rebels.